What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, man. Let's get into it. I want to say thank you also right off the rip for all you guys who have donated to the page. And to the rest of you, you want to donate, you can hit the donate button in the description box and leave me a message in the Streamlab. And for everyone else, you can use the Cash App, which is Carcino, Karceno. Thank you. And with that being said, let's get into this. Jemele, Jemele Hill, who's recently gotten married, took my baby off the market. She known for her success on ESPN, Sportscenter, being an anchor on there, getting her own show with Michael Smith, and they were the excitement and brought some entertainment to Sportscenter when all these other internet shows and everyone else was beating them out. They went from ESPN2 to being put on the main stage of ESPN1 Sportscenter. You know, when they had the His and Hers show, that was definitely a lot better than when they got Sports Center. A lot more responsibility, a lot more different things were happening in development, and a lot more things in detail was revealed in her interview she did with a former colleague of hers. Now, with that being said, I wanted to give my thoughts on the interview that she did. And I want to tell everybody that if I'm ever critical on Jemele Hill, it comes from a place of love. I would love to have Jemele Hill right now. No. Now, the situation comes from a situation of, I think Jemele got caught in a place where she was stuck in the middle. She didn't know what she was representing anymore. She was wanting to voice her opinions about things and social issues. But on the same side, she had a job, and you don't want to bring your politics to work. In certain places, that is not even allowed. And she should have known better. And I'm like, at this stage, you would think Jemele Hill would know better. Like, well, Jemele would know better. She knows better than to bring this politics into this business here. You would say that to your so you would say that to yourself because right away you will just automatically assume this person has to know that with a microscope you're talking about the president of the United States of America. That's not a very ideal thing for you to do, is to bash him when you're on a network in which is basically supporting the president of the United States of America. You got to understand that those are your personal views, and even though you don't say it on SportsCenter and you say it on your own private social media channel, you are now a personality. You represent that. So I'm just saying, if Stephen A. Smith would have said that, it would have been the same results. In other words. So I just try to keep it, 100 all the way around the board when it comes to the dealing with all of these different matters that people see as social issues. It's like, okay, you could be socially responsible, but you're gonna have to make your mind up. You can't have it your way and be like, I'm socially involved now, but I don't want that to affect my job. You can't have it both ways. I wish I could have it both ways, but no, I can't. It's not designed to be that way. Now, Jemele brought up things about what was happening with her and ESPN and some of the problems, and that it became a toxic environment to work in. And she was, grateful for the opportunity ESPN gave her. But she's a writer. Being on television was never something she wanted to do in her life. being out in the open and all of these different things. But they really pushed for her to be more on television. And for me, and I direct this directly to Jemele Hill. Jemele, I I need to implore you the importance of what you do. You are very important to young black females who want to get into journalism. You don't know, she doesn't have an idea, so I must tell her. You don't know how much influence you had on the people that even work there of color. Because a woman that looks like you from Detroit came up and became an anchor on a network that does not champion people of color, and you were able to stay yourself. You were able to have braids. You were able to wear different color makeup and lipstick, things that fit you, that made you comfortable as a person, and you didn't have to compromise to do what you did. And that shows young black women that it is possible. It is not something that is unattainable. Young black girls in the Midwest were looking up to you because they saw you on TV. And that's why it was so important, because people that look like you are not normally giving us news or not on television representing us. So it's very important the work that you were doing. And I wanted to make sure you knew that. So even though you might not like being on television, you were making a difference. I seen Carrie Champion wearing braids. I seen other people trying to, and like, hey, I can be me. I can make my fro out. That's the difference. Now, I understand. She just reached a point that she said Sportscenter was the worst job she has ever had. And her whole life, working on Sportscenter, it was just miserable working there before she even made the texts about the Donald Trump thing, which got her in trouble, and then the one she did about Jerry Jones, which got her basically terminated. So this is a series of what we're going to do in these critical moments and how we're going to handle the situation. And ESPN doesn't really have a cultural base or a reputation of dealing with situations the way they should be dealt with. There's a situation with Boomer she really didn't go into detail with, but another colleague felt the opportunity to share that, but they worked past that. It wasn't a big issue to her. And it was so candid and so emotional that I felt like she was past it. She was so happy to not be on ESPN anymore. You know, they try to make ESPN the end all be all of professional sports. And this is no slight to ESPN. ESPN do a great job of promoting their product. And I know they feel like we don't have to adhere to any of the ideals of all the people that work here. This is a company, this is what we do, this is the terms. If you don't like it, tough. So now you're forced to be in a situation that you probably don't want to be in yourself. So she was kind of put in a box. But she knew things were moving different over there, as far as all these meetings for every little thing she want to do and try on the show. Now you got to have a meeting with this guy, and it's just so they can turn down the idea. You know, it was just, they didn't want to do it in the first place, and they just running her through loops, and you know, it just was a nightmare trying to do your job, and people are trying to hinder you from doing your job because they would rather you be uncomfortable and leave rather than you be successful on their network. Now, before she left, she got a check. She said they gave her a big fat check. She did not leave without that fat check. Now, besides the big fat check, she also received something else. Another opportunity at another show. You know, they was like, look, just come work on another show. You could just write it, you could produce it, you know, you could just be in the background like you want. But no, she was just ready for something new. She was ready to go try some other stuff and do other things. And here's what a lot of people didn't know. The only reason she was not fired the first time when Trump was asking for her to be fired is Dwayne Wade and other big, like major people in the NBA, NFL, all these people came to her aid and said, we got you. Don't worry. And they spoke up for Jemele Hill. And they saw all the social media followings of all these professional athletes saying, no, don't worry, Jemele Hill, you know, don't worry about that. Forget what Trump's saying. We got your back. ESPN sees all those people backing Jemele Hill. Had they fired Jemele doing all of that chaos, they know they were going to create a big S storm with those athletes. And they are, what, 99% athletes? You know, you don't want to do that if you're ESPN, is tick off the black athletic community. So keeping Jemele Hill on was not something ESPN wanted to do, but felt like we will dodge a bigger bullet if we just keep these things going the way it is and kind of go through the process of getting her eliminated. Now, she also apologized. She apologized to Michael Smith because he had to come in and do the job by himself, and he was, you know, it was dumped on him. He didn't get a heads up about anything. It was dumped on his lap. And as a true patriot, as a true soldier riding for her, he told her, hey, I'd have done the same thing if this would have happened to me. Hey, you want me to quit? I'll quit right now. And he got a wife and kids, you know, and, you know, he was like, look, I'll just quit. You want me to quit? Like, I'm riding with you. You know, if you don't want to do the show, then it won't be a show. Because first he said, I won't do the show without her. And she was like, no, 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 go and do the show, Michael. I don't want you to, I appreciate it, you know, like, you know, I appreciate, you know, the gesture, but please go ahead and do your show. Don't cancel it because of me. I don't want you to lose your job. And, you know, it altered his career, though, at ESPN because they didn't want Michael Smith now without her. You see? So now it became a problem for him. And he got his release papers, and all he wanted was like, look, just let me go. You know, I'll find other work. So I just want to let people know that these opportunities, you got to be very careful with how you deal with them. You could make yourself a personality to where you become bigger than the show, then you can go and start your own thing. You can run your own podcast. You could do whatever. Look at Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick got tired of the politics at ESPN, and him and Berterman, they got up and did their own thing. They were going to lose Scott Van Pelt the same way, and they gave Scott Van Pelt everything. Now it's the ESPN SVP show. That's Sportscenter. You know, the Scott Van Pelt hour. You know, they had to pay him millions of dollars to keep him from jumping ship. So people can create a personality and become bigger than what they are. You know, but other black people that work there, you know, they suffered a lot of criticism. And she also brought up a very important point about what happened with Stuart Scott. Rest in peace, Stuart Scott, the trailblazer. And I've been with him and following him since he was on CNN. He was on doing sports, and I saw him on CNN one time. And he had another cable outlet he was on, and he was doing all his stick. And I said, and they were like, they put him in Source magazine. He was so good. So this is what got Sportscenter attention with ESPN. And they hated him. They hated his thing that he used to do. But he was so popular with it, they try to act like they championed it all along. They tried to conform him to tone it down. Okay, you can do that. We understand that's your stick and it's good because it's working, it's bringing in the urban market. But can you just tone it down a little? Like, we want to put you on the 5 o'clock hour. Now, later in the night, you could do that when African Americans are awake. You can do that. But in the morning, like in the afternoons, like in the 3, could you just give us a more professional? Stuart Scott had to go through so much hate and criticism from his colleagues and people who were feeling they were being passed over by a guy who was a show pony. And, they don't talk about the fact Stuart Scott had limited vision in his eye because he got hit in with a football during a segment at one of the, I think, Minnesota Viking games or something. One of the football games. He got hit in the eye with the football, and gradually he started losing vision in that eye till he completely couldn't see out of that eye anymore. And the teleprompter was at a position where they didn't even want to change the view of the cameras that they have there. So to read the teleprompter is very difficult with one eye because you got to basically look through your peripheral and see the way they got the camera set up. And he can't out of his eye. So he would memorize the whole thing that's going to roll down the screen. He would memorize it. So whatever he couldn't see, he would know it was there because he memorized it before it was time to do a show. That's what Stuart Scott had to do because he said, I'm not going to lose my job. And a lot of people just didn't know. But ESPN act like, we loved Stewart. He was our guy. We loved him. Because another guy that worked at ESPN, before he was let go, and they told him because he was doing well, then they held him back. And he was wondering, like, why am I being held back? Everybody loves me. He's like, well, here's the thing. You're a little too ghetto. And they already have another one that does that. They already have another one for that, which meant Stuart Scott. It's very painful when you hear it. It's just. And now the Stuart Scott's gone. They have their other one now. And we don't even got to say his name. But they've treated him like manure. But now he's paid manure because even though they don't like him, they got to pay him. Because they don't want him to go to Fox. So get your money. So anyway, I'm out. Don't forget to support the page. Hit the like button. Click the link in the description box. You heard me. It says donate. Donate to the page. Quit being cheap. You know you got it. Leave me a message there too. And I'm finna read y'all messages as soon as I get through with this video. And yeah, my Cash App is Carcino. You already know that. So yeah, I'm out. To the next one.